Alright lads, so alongside the resurrection news that we did get this morning, we also did get the announcement of counter-attack summons, aka the Squad Zero 1000-year Blood banner. It's returning and it's coming out tomorrow. Now if you asked me if this banner was worth summoning on before the announcement this morning, I would have said you can afford to skip it. Ichibei, Senjumaru and Kiryu are all good characters, more so Ichibei and Senjumaru, but what they offer on the game, there's replacements. And with that, it kind of makes this banner less worth it to summon on. However, when you look at the filler pool is good. I'm not going to lie. I'm relatively happy with the filler pool here. You have a good selection of characters, but most importantly, 1000-year Blood War Aizen, who was seen a lot of praise the last week, given that he's a great character to use in the current Limit Breaker quest, and he's also going to be really good in the Nightmare Aranka Guild quest. So it kind of makes sense why Killer did return him, but I'm very happy to see him finally as a filler in a pretty decent banner. There's almost really no bad filler character here, besides Sergeant and also Toshiro, who are more so collector characters you get if you don't own them, potentially offers good links, and they are resurrectable. So I'll say right from the get-go, like if you're missing more than like 7 characters in this banner, if you're missing a large portion of these characters and you want them, then by all means, this is the banner that you might want to summon on, right? I still think you can go without summoning on this banner. It ultimately comes down to if you like the characters and if you like what they actually offer. If you're new, maybe it's good to do 5 steps, because again, the selection of characters here are relatively good, especially, most importantly, for a 1000-year Blood War banner. If we have a quick look at the actual characters itself, though, Ichibei is a technique Soripa with the Quincy and also Soripa kill ability. In my opinion, despite me classing him as one of the best technique characters in the game, the best technique character in the game, I still think to a certain extent he's a tad bit underrated, given that I feel like people focus too much on his downside, more so his good parts, right? And those good parts are his damage output when the gauge is active. And that's essentially the best way to describe him. He's like kind of weak when the gauge isn't active, but when the gauge is active, this character is a massive damage dealing powerhouse character. With Frenzy +1 and a 50% Berserker, that's what makes his damage output low, but when you activate the gauge, and he has an easy time activating it, keep that in mind. Since he does have Gauge Rampage, he also starts the quest with 70% of the gauge full, but when the gauge does activate, he picks up a 50% SP boost, 100% more Berserker, more strong attack damage, and of course also an additional Frenzy +1. Alongside that, once the gauge activates, it also reduces its cooldown for the strong attacks by 30%, making it so when you activate the gauge, you have more likely 3 strong attacks ready to go and let off some nasty damage. I've been playing with this character a lot. He's really good in Guild Quest content, again more specifically the Meaty, Swiper, and Quincy Guild Quests, especially when paired with a very good team booster like Swimsuit Jushiro and or Fierce Battle Soifon. Using these 2 characters allow Ichibei to do more damage, 40% more damage to the weakened enemies, and 20% more strong attack damage overall. His summon does come with bombardment and also weakened defense. He has long stride built in. Overall, he's a very strong character. There are going to be those downtimes where like you take damage or you aren't able to refill the gauge up too quick, and you might have to use an extra strong attack or 2. But once you get used to the character and you know what the spawns are, you're able to clear any quest super fast. Whether that's guild quests, he breezes through Limit Breaker in the 3rd slot, or anytime you're going against speed attribute enemies. And of course, we even tested him out in IT when he did have Killer, and he was able to clear Inheritance Trials in less than a minute at 1 out of 5. He's a very strong character with, you know, again, to be fair, a big drawback is that his damage output is low when the gauge isn't active, but more often than not, you're very rarely ever in a situation where the gauge isn't active. Or if you are, you might have to use 1 strong attack, a couple normal attack hits, and the gauge is back up, and you're ready to go to let off some absolute carnage. If you're a fan of Ichibei, he's a great character with a lot of usability, and gets better once more if you do own any of these 2 characters, since they do buff his damage output. Senjumaru is going to be your ultimate farmer for the speed attribute. If you want to farm power links or potions, power super links or potions, and also power droplets, this character is great to have. That's because she does come with the extra drops, plus 5 links or potions, plus 5 super links or potions, guaranteed 10 power droplets, and also increases your power droplet drop rate by 30%. Since you want to use it in those farming quests, more specifically Inheritance Trials where you get super links or potions, it's very important that she's a very fun and smooth to play character, and she's exactly that. With Frenzy +2, a 50% Berserker, Pierce Iron Skin, complete stat immunity, and most importantly 100% more damage to enemies not afflicted by an ailment, she absolutely breezes through content, especially once more Inheritance Trials, where in my opinion she best performs. You mainly want to use it to farm super links or potions, and of course also droplets, and she's the best at that. Visually, I think she looks great. If you're a Senjumaru fan that is holding out strong for a potential new Bankai Senjumaru, while this character isn't that, she definitely will keep you satisfied for the time being. And then lastly, we have Kiryu, who unfortunately is the most lackluster character in this banner. She herself is a ranged human killer, mainly designed to really only be used in Guild Quest as your team booster. Unfortunately, because she is a ranged character with a team boost SA2, that attack in of itself isn't doing any damage. Her SA1 doesn't do it any favors since it is a quite mediocre strong attack 1, and that overall worsens the character's gameplay because the SA2 is coming back longer than usual. It's not doing any damage in Guild Quest, and the SA1, it doesn't make up for having that, somewhat bad SA2 in her current situation. She does have a high damage output with Frenzy +2, 60% Berserker, more damage to paralyzed enemies. She has the boost SA2. When you inflict the stat element, you get an 80% stat boost to your spiritual pressure stat. On paper, she looks very good, but in gameplay, in practice, very lackluster. Her most usable feature is the fact that she's a team booster in the ranged human Squad 0 Guild Quest, but if you saw our last stream earlier today, she's not even that good in there. Like, your team's better off without her. If you have made Aaroniero, you do not need this particular Kiryu. And then even outside of Guild Quest, where again this damage output is good, she doesn't really offer any fun gameplay. So like, she's potentially good to have, but I wouldn't really pull on this banner just strictly for her. She's mediocre in my opinion, has some potential, but the kit definitely does let her down. And those are basically the 3 returning characters, right? Senjumaru, Ichibe, are worth their praise. They're really good. Some of my favorite characters of last year. Kiryu, not so much. If we have a look at the other fillers, the characters that round up this banner, first up we have round 16 Ichigo, 1000 Year Blood War anime return character. In his case, he's very similar to Senjumaru. They're almost the exact same type of character, the only difference that he doesn't give you the extra drops, but he's still a really good character. If you like playing with him, and you like the full bring Ichigo base Shikai design, he's still a really good character. Still great in IT, despite him not increasing the drops, but Frenzy +2, high Berserker value, 100% more damage to enemies not affected with an ailment. He has long stride, more flash steps. He's a very fast character, very safe character. In my opinion, an ultimate all-arounder. Then, of course, we have 1000 Year Blood War Aizen, one of the best characters in this banner, and probably the main reason why you might even want to summon this banner, because I do know he is heavily sought after. As of right now, he is the best normal attack damage character in the game, and I don't think it's even close. With a high damage output thanks to his Fry +1, high bruiser value, and when you do inflict this stat element, keep in mind he can inflict weakening with an increased chance to do so, you then get an 80% stat boost to your attack stat. That in of itself is already great, but then he also does have the gauge effect, and when that gauge activates, not only does it reduce the cooldown of his strong attacks, and keep in mind his SA2 is a barrier and boost move, giving him more damage, providing him more protection, but the gauge itself also does give him 100% more normal attack damage. Really good in the ranged Aaroniero Guild Quest, really good right now in Limit Breaker, and anytime you can bring a ranged technique character or a technique Aaroniero killer, Aizen is always good to bring. While I don't really like playing manually with normal attack damage characters, Aizen is probably the only one I really like playing with. Really fun character. It's Aizen, it's 1000 Year Blood War, still a great character to have. Rukia is definitely and has been showing her age, but she's still relatively good, all things considered. If anything, she's a fun character if you don't own her. Good strong attack hit, respectable damage output for her time, but the best thing about it is, of course, the transform Bankai button. By pressing that button, you activate her Bankai, you can move around in it, and with that, you do more damage, you have an increased chance to inflict freeze, and that can potentially make her useful in the Melee Espada and Aaroniero Guild Quest. She'll never be the best option for those weeks, but she does make for a decent substitute if you don't have any of the other newer, better Melee Aaroniero killers. Masaki's still a great character to this day. A ranged no attack damage character with a boost and barrier SA2. She should potentially receive a resurrection later this year, maybe, not guaranteed. But she's still meta in Guild Quest, the range no affiliation Guild Quest in particular. She's the best team booster for that week, good damage output. If you ain't got Masaki 5-5, you definitely still want to get dupes of her. And then the last two characters, Sajin, mostly just a collector character. He does resurrect, get you more orbs. Link itself is okay. Toshiro, still a fun character, but his damage is definitely on the lower side. Resurrection does make him better though. That gives you more orbs. It gives you a good soul trait as well. These two characters are very rarely ever featured, so honestly, them being the banner, I don't mind it. So yeah, like I said, it's overall a very solid banner. The fillers definitely make up for it, and I wouldn't blame you for summoning on this banner. Again, do I think it's a down to zero situation? No. Can you afford to skip it? I would say so. My ult account doesn't have any of the free characters besides Kiryu, but again, no one's summoning for Kiryu, right? You shouldn't. I'll still be skipping because, the fillers are great. I know I'll get them at a later time. I have all the fillers too, to be fair. But Senjumaru and Ichibe, the prize of the banner, the new characters that are returning, they're great characters, but you can kind of go without them. There are replacements, if that makes sense. Ichibe is a great technique character, but there's also some other good Technique characters. He's really good in the melee story part and also Stamina guild quests, but there's other characters you can bring there. Obviously, Senjumaru is an amazing farmer. I prefer her over Tensar, the other amazing farmer for this build attribute, but if you have Tensar, then you technically don't need Senjumaru. They do the same job. Senjumaru just farms a tad bit faster, but they're already both clearing fast as is, right? But if you want these characters, if you'd like the whole selection, if you need them, then by all means go ahead and summon on the banner, right? Remember, it's a normal step-up format, so step 1, 6, 11, 16, and 21 are discounted at 150 orbs. Step 2, 7, 12, 17, and 22 are discounted at 200 orbs, and then every 5th step guarantees you one of these 9 characters. It's a very solid banner. If you're a new account that's missing most of these characters here, maybe it wouldn't hurt you to go to step 5. Remember, the available date for this banner is tomorrow, and it'll be lasting until the 20th, so while this banner is out, if you wait till the 16th, we will find out what mid-month is going to be. I myself will be skipping this banner, but again, I wouldn't blame you for summoning. The filler pool is actually good, which is nice to say in regards to 1,000-year blooded banners, I will say. Either way, if you are summoning on this banner, good luck. Hopefully you get what you want. I'll see you guys next time. Take care and peace.